was in middle school, one of the teachers told her, you know, Michelle, a C is good.
2 more years.
Good. And I said, you know, a C is
70.
good.
I'm not that
if you
young
try
either.
your hardest. Well, you know, I tried.
I mean,
A
you
C
looked
is
at it.
terrible.
I don't look at it.
Teacher
Good evening,
tell you.
everyone, and welcome to the March 11th, 2024 meeting of the Litchfield Board of Selectmen.
Hey, Peter.
We've been in a paperwork session we've just come out of, and we'd like to start this meeting off by rising and saying the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Where's the flag? Oh,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
see it.
Okay. Up first, we have review and approval of consent items. We have an AP manifest from March 5th, 2024 in the amount of $16,472.26. We have one from March 12th, 2024 in the amount of $117,867.96. We have a payroll manifest for March 7th, 2024 in the amount of $57,355.21. And one for March 14th, 2024 in the amount of $58,497.50. We have an elderly exemption recertification. We have a veteran credit recertification. We have two all-veteran tax credit application per RSA 72-28B. We have the February 2024 Town Clerk Reconciliation and the February 2024 Tax Collector Reconciliation. Are there any items anyone would like to remove or discuss? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion for acceptance.
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Weber,
Second. Oh, go ahead.
Go.
Second.
second by Ms. Keating. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0-0. Requests for other items.
I have something I'd like to add, Bob, that, a comment I'd like regarding the planning board appointment of the new member.
Okay. We don't need a motion for that. We don't need them. Any other items? Okay. Public input will occur no earlier than 6:45 PM. We have some public here. Approval of the minutes for February 12th, 2024, which we had tabled from before. Everybody have a chance?
Yep, I looked at him.
Yep. Any questions, comments?
Just one, and that was, H, I already mentioned it to Matt. It should be Joan Kendall. He didn't have her last name, minor.
Joan, historian.
Okay, we'll take a motion to accept the minutes with
So moved.
amended.
Oh, I have one more.
Oh, one more.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Page 8, Matt's back there. The first paragraph, it says they need that, and it was about the Energy Committee. They need that, period. Can you say they need an Energy Committee should the Community Power Warrant article pass? Do you want me to say that again? Slower? You're gonna use the video? Can you hear the video at home? Sometimes I'm hearing, people can't hear it. Okay. So that should be, they need an Energy Committee should the Community Power Warrant article pass. Thanks.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Motion to accept the minutes as amended.
So moved. I'll second.
Motion from Mr. Weber, second from Mr. Gannon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0-0.
12 pages of minutes.
It was good reading.
Approval of the minutes for February 26th, 2024. Anybody have any?
I have one.
Yep. go
Page-
ahead.
to you.
Page 2,
Page 2.
B, when we were interviewing the planning board member, there was a note, the last sentence said that they had the trades.
Mhm.
Can we just say they had experience in the trades? Is what I meant. HVAC,
Okay.
that's all.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you again.
Motion to accept the minutes with the amendment.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Motion from Mr. Lynch.
I will second.
Second from Mr. Weber. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain since I wasn't there, Bob.
Opposed, abstained?
Yeah.
Motion carries 4-0-1.
I wasn't present, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, but he said okay.
Up next, we have Rec Commission user fees. We have a guest here tonight, Mr. Ames. How are you, sir?
Very well yourself.
Very good, very good. Looking dapper tonight,
I know, it's Monday. Friday it'll be a different story. For now.
as it should be.
Good evening, I'm Peter Ames, I'm the chair of the Recreation Commission, and appreciate the opportunity to come to you before tonight to discuss our draft fee policy. What we'll be asking for is your support to hold a public hearing on this policy and then eventually ratify that for us to move forward with. So I wanted to first start by giving you a little bit of history, and my colleagues from the Rec Commission, Selectmen Gann and Selectmen Weber, will be familiar with this and be welcome to chime in. But this is an issue that we've struggled with as a commission for a number of years, where we've had nonprofits outside of Litchfield or for-profit organizations looking to secure some of the facilities for use. And we've certainly been supportive of those as they provide good recreation opportunities for the residents here in Litchfield. But we recognize that there's also a cost whenever someone uses a facility, and we did not have any kind of fee schedule for different groups. And so that's something that we had looked at over a number of years, and last year we put together this policy based on a couple principles. Number one, we really wanted to keep all the recreation facilities accessible for Litchfield residents and Litchfield recreational clubs. So that's, a key priority for us. However, we also want to recognize that there is an impact when they are used, and that things such as trash removal, cleaning, other maintenance is part of that whenever that they are used. And we certainly heard from taxpayers that it would be prudent to look if there's a way we could offset some of those costs, as is done in practice for other similar towns. So we did some homework looking at other similar towns, what the schools do, and what the for-profit market is for this type of thing, and recognize that many places do have some type of fee policy for exactly this type of issue, that they wanted to make sure their local residents and clubs were taken care of, but if someone is coming in out of town or for a for-profit event or activity, that they should provide some kind of compensation to the town and the taxpayers for that use. So we felt that it was right to move forward with some type of fee policy, and so that's what I have here to share with you this evening. If I can pass that around. And I just wanted to talk through a couple components on that. And again, what I'm asking for tonight is to support for a hearing, to gather more from the public, and then to finalize this here in the near spring. I'll let that go around first.
Thank you.
Paper.
Paper pen.
Oh, I don't need, how many we got here? Just one page, right?
Just one page, yep.
Good.
So the principle that we used in drafting this was to align with our bylaws, which has kind of a pecking order for how we approve field and facility requests, where we give preference to Litchfield-based organizations. So Litchfield-based recreation, nonprofit organizations, the school district, or other local Litchfield nonprofits get priority when field and facility requests come in, and we thought it was appropriate to make sure that the fees did not apply to those types of organizations. So we wanted residents to know that as a resident, you're not going to get charged a fee to make a field or facility request, or if you're a rec league or a school-based organization. And then what we did is set 3 tiers of categories for the types of organizations that would be assessed a fee. The first are recreation or nonprofit organizations that are not Litchfield-based or have less than 50% Litchfield membership in those organizations. The second would be private promoters or vendors that were sponsored by that type of organization or nonprofit, but were holding an event to raise revenue, and so that we felt it was appropriate that they either donate a portion of that or were charged a fee for those activities. And kind of the third tier of category is really for anybody else. So a straight up for-profit organization looking to coming in to do something commercial would be charged kind of the higher level fee. So we have those 3 tiers that go up in price based on those 3 categories. And the levels that we set, are still very reasonable. They're well below market rates. Again, we want this to be accessible. We feel that
All those different types of organizations could certainly bring value into the town, so we want them to be something that is an option for those types of organizations, and try to set a fee schedule kind of proportionate to what they are looking to do. This is, like I said, pretty simple fee schedule. This is just, these fees here are just per use and not per hour or anything like that. It's per use, per day of the facility that is requested. So let me pause there. I'd be happy to take any questions, but I think, key takeaways are that, Litchfield residents and clubs are not going to be assessed a fee under this policy, that it's meant to offset and mitigate the costs for organizations that are not Litchfield-based or not primarily Litchfield or are commercial in nature, but also want to set it, below market so it's accessible for any organization to come with an event to Litchfield.
So I'd like to make one comment. First, awesome job. Back when I was on the commission, it's something that we tossed around for a long time, and a lot of work obviously went into this. The only concern I have would be trash in the comfort stations, as you formally labeled them, which I appreciate. Is that included in the cost, or would that be over and above, like to collect the trash or to have the porta potties pumped after they're?
We did talk about that specifically as a commission. We felt that if there was a significant event where there were, hundreds of people coming in that would require us to get additional, that we would put that in the field and facility request, that there's a certain threshold where we would expect excessive trash or need to bring in comfort stations. That would be above and beyond.
So it'd be something you address, per incident.
Per incident, yeah.
It all
So
depends on
For
it.
as an
Smaller
example,
thing.
like the Fusion used the softball fields for the month of July.
Yep.
At that point, they would fall under category B since they're being sponsored by LGSL.
Yep.
But on top of that, they have to bring in 2 porta potties to have the event because of the amount of people that go through.
Yep.
And then they clean them every Friday night, every Saturday, every Sunday.
Okay, so
That's
it'll
one
be
of the
assessed
requirements.
as needed.
Yep.
Considering how busy that those fields are and the amount of scheduling and time, taking on more, I feel bad for you. But I also agree, this is something, we've always heard comments how great our fields are, what can we do to use them, and we would have to turn away a lot of people.
Right. Yeah, so we have not received a ton of requests for real private or commercial events, really a handful a year is what I would expect for this. But we felt it was certainly appropriate to put this policy into place. And, starting from this, I think it's important to have it as a tool, if there were a significant increase in requests or costs, these fees could be increased to offset that. Or, there's certainly other towns that use this as a revenue source for their recreation in a more significant way. These are really just to mitigate costs we already incur, but it certainly could be a model for revenue development if that was a way the town wanted to go.
And with how heavily used our facilities are, there's not a lot of holes for people to actually get in and do it, so.
Right.
So, a couple of questions I would have would be, like, you'd say the Litchfield residents wouldn't be charged. If a group of them wanted to say, hold an event at their home, you wouldn't charge them?
For Litchfield residents? No, we would not.
Maybe you could request a donation, something like that. Because you're talking about turning on the lights, using the facilities, things like that. I agree with not charging them, but you could, find a way to word it better than I just did.
So what we've done is, all rec-sponsored events, we do have, bring food.
But if it's not,
We always, no matter what it is, it's always, could you bring food for the food pantry and so forth?
Yep.
So we will set up a
Okay.
donation table for
That's
things to
perfect.
that, to give back to the community.
That's perfect. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we've been trying to do that.
And then the second question would be, say somebody comes in and they want to hold like a softball tournament or a soccer tournament, and they're going to use multiple fields.
Yep.
Is it per field?
It is not at this
It is
point.
not, so it's just one flat fee?
Yep.
You might think about that.
So like, Roy Memorial Park, you have 3 fields.
Yep.
Schaefer, you have 2. Talking about just baseball, softball. And Justin Bissett, you have 2.
Yeah, and at Sawmill, how many soccer fields are there? 3, 4,
Depends on how they configure
5?
it.
Yeah. So I mean, you should think about maybe per field, or a different fee structure, because that's pretty dirt cheap to use a bunch of fields.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
But I mean, that's really the only things I can think of. I think a hearing is a good idea. Get more questions from the community. And great job by you guys.
Thank you.
No, I just didn't know if you had numbers you expected today based on category A, just on like the travel soccer teams or whatever, whoever's using the fields now that isn't paying. Do you have an idea?
So you say number like
Yeah, do you
dollars
have
or
an
number
idea,
like
like if
how
this was implemented, how much money you would earn in the category A? Because it sounds like B and C aren't really there
So
yet.
right now, we have what? We have Pastor Mike's group uses it for soccer.
Yeah.
We have the clinic that gets run by the AD or the soccer coach,
Mhm.
right? Other than that, what else do we have?
soccer field's not,
I think those are the only two. They're both at Sawmill.
that's sawmill, yep. That sounds right.
I think those are the only, Steve.
Didn't you have one more where the college soccer player would come into town and do
Oh, he does that camp.
clinics and
So there's
camps?
probably only three right now that would affect.
Okay.
But are the kids that go to the camp from Litchfield, or are they out of town, or?
Depends.
Yeah.
It's a mix.
It's a mix, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd have to look at that
it's
50% threshold based off enrollment.
Is it per game?
Per day.
Per
Per day.
day?
Yeah.
So like when the Fusion come in and they're gonna use Dara for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they'll pay for each one
For
of the
3
days.
days, yeah. And they've always donated back to the town. And
They've given back to the softball
The-
league,
yeah,
but this actually goes directly back to the rec.
And where will the money go?
Into the revolving fund is our plan.
Maybe you could add to the expendable trust fund that we want to establish for you folks.
Here's hoping, yep.
That would be a good place for it. Could we do that? Is that legal?
No.
No?
Standalone.
Article differently.
It only goes into an expendable trust or warrant.
Okay.
So user fees are a revolving fund.
All right, what was the thought?
And we did, so I met with Judy
Mhm.
and we discussed, as far as the actual billing and the receipt of the money, the way the town works it now is all receipts of money go through Karen's group here. So we would make Donna available to assist with the receivables and, of course, then Heather and Karen would
Yep.
make sure that it's,
And we'd make sure
Deposit.
everybody had a certificate of insurance on file with us prior to using it.
I think a public hearing's a good next step.
I agree.
You think?
Yeah.
Kevin?
As long as it's legal. Doesn't need a warrant
We don't
article,
need a-
right?
We don't need a motion for that.
Does it need a,
It doesn't need a
the
warrant.
rec commission is
doesn't?
holding the public hearing. So if you need any assistance with getting it published
Yep.
in the paper, just send it over.
Whatever we can do to
We
help.
recommend 10 days.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, if we can help you out, let us know.
Very good. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
coming in.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Peter, appreciate it.
Thank you.
And everything you do over there. Okay. Seeing as it's now 6:50, we will open up the floor for public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to come forward and speak?
I can see at least 5 or 6 of them.
Absolutely, you're public.
At least 2, 3.
Tell the folks at home who you are, sir.
I am.
I know who you are.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chief Master Sergeant Retired Bobby Jacques, 18 Lock Mill Drive. I'm going to read this if I could. I'm the president of the Litchfield, New Hampshire Veterans Group, and these handsome guys behind me are members of the Litchfield Veterans Group. Now, don't applaud, but we'll take that later. We're here this evening to recognize and thank a member of the board and fellow citizen of Litchfield. I have a saying on my wall at home, one person can make a difference, but it takes a team to achieve miracles. 5 years ago, I had the pleasure to meet Mr. Steve Weber while casting my vote at the high school, like tomorrow. After I was introduced, I said to him, I have a couple of questions for you. And he said to me, he looked at me like, oh my God, what is he going to ask me? The first being, why don't we have a state flag at the town hall? My second question was, seeing as there are United States veterans buried in our town cemeteries, why don't we have American flags flying in their honor? It was at that point that Steve Weber became an ally, and our successful journey began. Following that introduction was the creation of the Litchfield, New Hampshire Veterans Group. Steve was behind us all the way, explaining how things must be done in the town. He made suggestions and helped us navigate through it all, even when we were frustrated. Now the flags stand proudly and strong, and Mr. Weber made a difference in our first miracle. Our group has grown, and our miracles are plenty. It's almost time to put out our flags this year. The Veterans Group adopted the Patriotic Project in honor of Pat Jewett, increasing the flags from 30 to 120 on Route 3A, Albuquerque, Recycle Way, and a few on Hillcrest. I'm sure many of you have noticed the beautiful park and pavilion across the street. That's Veterans Park. It'll be given back to the town in early May, about 45 days from now. The Veterans Group have raised the funds, completed it on schedule, and did not overrun the budget at no cost to the taxpayers. In the military, when someone does an outstanding job and helps you accomplish the mission, they are recognized with a coin. Tonight, we'd like to recognize and thank Mr. Weber for his support and guidance in achieving our goals. Mr. Weber, would you come please forward, please? I'm sure you're going to be on TV, right? So he could be in here?
You go, Ron.
Come over here.
Okay. First,
I'll stand for
an American flag cross pin will be presented to him to remind you of our first mission together. Second, a veteran salute coin, because we salute you for what you've done to help us achieve our goals.
Thank you very much.
The third is an official Litchfield, New Hampshire Veterans Group coin to remind you of the town's veterans and your impact on each and every one of us.
Thank you.
And finally, my personal coin and words to live by. A quote from Winston Churchill. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. It's been an honor and pleasure to serve you. Thank you for everything you do for our community. And I'm still here to help.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anything you need. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Don't forget your keys.
It was very nice. I would echo all of their sentiments, and I would also say that Steve's been like a big brother mentor to me, which I said on an interview the other night. He was the first one I talked to.
Certificate of authenticity. I'll sign that next time.
I'll put it right next to the card.
Okay, thank you.
He was the first
Thank you,
one I
Bobby.
talked to when I decided to run, the first one that let me put a sign on his lawn, and he's been there to guide me pretty much all the way. So I would personally like to thank you for everything you've done for me.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. You know what that is? That's a challenge coin, right? Do you know what happens when you don't have your challenge coin?
I know.
By the first round.
I have a Litchfield PD one also that I carry.
Okay.
Nice. So, but this being Steve's last meeting, I think it's very nice gesture by the veterans.
Appreciate that. It's
Thank
been
you.
an honor. Been an honor to serve the citizens. Been an honor to work beside all of the great department heads we have and the employees. I mean, I think our best asset we have in this town are our department heads and our employees, and they work diligently every day to give the best service. I'd even say they're probably the best workers we have in the municipality. I mean, they're our number one asset that we have, and I want to thank all the boards, commissions, committees, and everything I sat with, and all the people I got the opportunity to serve with, because it's been an honor on my part, and I've learned more about municipality and municipal law than I ever thought I'd have to know.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you all. It's been my pleasure.
We will miss you.
He's absolutely right about the town staff. I mean, we have the best staff in this town.
We're good.
Absolutely do. We don't tell them enough, but we should.
Stop doing this.
So we thank everyone for what they do.
I think it's important we show them with our actions more than our words.
Oh, somebody else? Come on forward.
Yep, sorry, got a couple of things.
Okay.
Firstly, thank you, Steve, because
Who are you, sir?
Jason Brennan, 23 Aldrich Street. And I agree, Steve, you've been like a positive, you've always had a positive voice within the community, a can-do, and I think we've done a lot, partnered a lot over the years. Mr. Chair, I had a couple of quick things.
Sure.
Number one, I'm putting on the Conservation Commission hat regarding the muster field. I just wanted to give you like a quick update. Okay, the property across the street from the old fire station.
Looks good.
Looking really good over there. We have cleaned the upper muster field over the past 6 or so months, brush hogged it, looking really good. You might see a piece of equipment down there over the next couple of weeks. We've been having discussions within the Conservation Commission about, since we brush hogged it up there, there's a lot of little stumps around there. It's causing a problem with our mower. We had a guy in town that actually said, hey, I've got a forestry mulcher that's gonna go up there and take care of the stump. So if you see a piece of equipment up there, that's what you'll see.
Okay. And you know where all the old gravestones and all that stuff is?
It's the upper.
Oh, up on top of the hill?
Yeah,
On top, Bobby.
it's at the top of the
Shouldn't be
hill.
any bodies up there.
No, there isn't, because we plowed them under for years. There's a big cornfield up there.
Fully endorsed by the Historic Commission.
Perfect. That was my
And
next question.
the hope is if we can get those stumps out of there and just kind of churn things up,
Yep.
that I'm gonna be looking to plant like conservation mixed grass seed up there that hopefully kind of stem down the pucker brush, and there's bittersweet coming out
Weeds
of
and
it.
everything
So
else.
we're talking to Tim about that, what's best to put up there. The number two, I'm gonna make this brief. I wanted to talk for a second about what I felt was the lack of discussion at your last Board of Selectmen meeting regarding the planning board application. You know, where my concern is there was really a lack of acknowledgement by this board on what transpired during the planning board meeting. There was a couple of accusations that flew at a member of the community, and a little bit emotional about this because the guy had to stand up in a public meeting and defend himself. And I felt that when you fast forward to this meeting, that I don't think that the recap of what happened during those two planning board meetings was articulated well in this meeting. And I felt that this board should have acknowledged what happened and responded to that.
I know what you're talking.
You guys are elected to have an open and honest discussion, and I just don't think that you had it that night.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
I mean, I too went back and watched both of them,
Yeah, I did too.
and I do find it
We need it, Jim.
concerning that we had a lack of discussion. I wasn't at the selectmen board. I watched the planning board ahead of time of it. I didn't like a couple comments that were made. First of all, the individual said that he was hoping to be part of the planning board so he could help the same type of citizen, I think was the word he used. And then on top of it, the discussion that happened with prejudice and so forth. And, you know, when we have somebody sitting on a board, commission or something, they should represent the whole entire community, not just a demographic of the community, and they should hold themselves to a certain standard. And I don't think the words used or chosen that evening represented somebody that we'd want to represent a board or commission. And that's a tough thing to say because we want people to give their time so much that it's hard to say no to somebody that wants to give their time back to the community and has a skill set that could help us. But we also have to make sure that we're putting the right people there that represent all of the people in town.
My feeling was not really related to the applicant themselves. My feeling was just a lack of acknowledgement of what was said during those meetings in this meeting.
Part of it.
And I was bothered around the verbiage of the whole entire thing that happened at the planning board that evening. There was a lot of fault that could have went around that evening, but, you
Yep.
know, that kind of resonated with me.
I just felt that it should have been acknowledged.
Well, I think that falls under the planning board, really, because it is their applicant that's seeking a position on their board. I mean, it would be like us telling conservation they can't appoint somebody. And I honestly think the language that night was terrible, and I don't condone it at all. I think it was awful. But they vetted him, and they brought him forward to us.
I don't disagree with that, but And this is not in regard to the applicant himself at all. The guy actually seems like he's got good qualifications for it. I'm kind of taking that off the table.
Yep.
Where I have the problem is, there was a lot of discussion in that planning board meeting. There was a motion to not approve, which failed 2-3.
Yep.
There was a motion to approve, which was brought forward here. And when the discussion was had at this board, when you asked specifically for a recap, none of that stuff was mentioned. I know when I came to the Conservation Commission, I think there was a full house in here. There was a whole level of discussion about, what your intentions are and so on and so forth. I just felt that it wasn't had here. I felt that some of that stuff was just brushed under the rug. You guys make the ultimate decision. And again, not related to the planning board guy, but you need to discuss it. And I just felt there was a lot of digs from a lot of different angles during that meeting, not only from the applicant, but I saw some shooting over toward the building inspector. I didn't think that was right, and I thought that should have just been discussed here. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I will also speak to
So-
that as well.
I had conversations with the planning board chair the day after the meeting, who was obviously concerned about some of the conduct at the meeting. I've also had discussions with planning board members. You want to be very careful during your public meetings. And you want to be especially careful when there are comments which may be made by a resident or an applicant that could cause some undue negative influence. So I have talked to the planning board members about their ability, anyone's ability, when something like that happens, to immediately call non-public session. That's what should have happened that night, because there were certainly some comments that were made that could negatively impact the resident and the applicant.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, it happened, and we can't take it back. We can learn from it. I think the planning board members that I spoke to didn't know that they could actually make a motion to go into to call non-public session. They didn't know that, and they felt better once they did. But that is definitely what should have happened when the conversation went a certain way. We never want our residents or applicants for a board or anyone else to be negatively impacted by comments which are not substantiated in any way.
And the other thing, the board did not know that he was already vetted either. You had already vetted him.
So he had
So a whole
been through the
conversation
legal
went-
process.
A timeline went about the cease and desist because we didn't know he was already vetted.
Correct.
Now, the
So-
other thing, we're still working on those minutes. There's been so many revisions done to those minutes, nobody can agree to them. You agree? January 2nd. There's been so many modifications to that.
That's what this whole comment was about, was that event, that activity that evening. I'm not gonna rehash what happened at the planning board meeting, as Jay already did. I would say that the first motion failed. It was a motion not to appoint, and Mr. Sam Terrell made the motion, Jeremy Robideau seconded. It was a motion not to appoint, and it failed 2-1, I believe it was. Oh, no, motion failed 2-3-0. Mr. Croto didn't like the double negative condensation so he elected to take a second vote. At that time, the discussion that went on over a vote lasted 30 minutes, which is ponderous. At one point, Mrs. Queenan was saying she was going to abstain from the vote, but her concern was it would have ended in a 2-1 vote, which would have made it fail. So some of the discussion was on how she was going to vote, which I don't think should happen. At the last minute, while the motion was still on the table, Kate Stevens showed up. Kate was listening from the car or TV, I don't know. She showed up. And the motion finally passed with a motion of 4-0 with Mrs. Queening voting in favor of. So to me, that was just a lot of confusion going on there, and it would be difficult to follow and make minutes out of it. On the February 26, 2024, the recommendation to appoint the applicant came before the board. The motion passed 4-0 with minimal discussion. The only comment made was he seemed to be a good fit. This was really concerning to me, and unless the other board members watched the 3 previous planning boards, they would not know the activity that occurred, including what I qualify as a character attack on a citizen. That fact that it took 2 meetings to address it. The fact that it took multiple motions and each motion was challenged. This important information was left out, and I believe in order for our board to make a proper recommendation, this kind of material should have been included. A simple, seemed to be a good fit, 4-0, let's sweep it under the carpet, sent the absolute wrong message to the citizen. And for those who don't know, the citizen is Mr. Rick Charbonneau. He's a very well prominent member of town. He's been here for a very, very long time. I would personally qualify him as kind, extremely generous, with the strong values and strong morals. I've had multiple conversations with Rick. Each one has been very pleasant, engaging, always productive, and most of all, it's always been respectful. Whenever I meet Mr. Charbonneau, it starts with a handshake and it ends with a handshake. The last title I would put on this gentleman is a racist, and I know he took it personally. It's been bothering him. The day I watched that meeting back in January, it's been bothering me as well. I wanted to say something at the last minute. I neglected to do so. So right now, I'm going to apologize to Mr. Charbonneau for not defending his dignity during the last BOS meeting. I am truly sorry. What bothered me is how we got to this point and how quickly it got brushed under the table and how challenged a lot of the members were on the planning board to move forward with a point, and they weren't ready to appoint. They were ready to move it up to us, to let us deal with, because that board was split. To me, that needs to be addressed. It should be, as you were saying, it should be up to the planning board. They should make the recommendation if they want him or not, and then come to us. If they have to do it behind closed doors, which they probably should, that's perfectly fine. Hashing it out on TV with the person sitting there obviously caused some contention, and it just lasted way too long, and it was counterproductive, and it made us all look bad. And then when it came here, and it was swept under, to me, it was extremely disturbing. And that's what I have to say. Once again, Mr. Charbonneau, I'm sorry for not defending your dignity.
This has never been a thing about Mr. Charbonneau's dignity.
That was it was a
If
character attack.
that's how he did it.
I'm not
What
getting
I
into
was,
it.
the dignity I was trying to look at was the applicant as well. And legally, he has every right to be there.
Yes.
And he was qualified, he has HVAC
Yes.
experience.
Yeah, and
That is why I voted yes.
I should say, I want to comment on that too. I believe any member of this town that wishes to be on the board should be on the board, whatever board it may be, Rec, Conservation, Board of Selectmen, as long as there's no true legal reasons or issues preventing him to do so. I encourage everyone to take some time, be a member on the board, understand what it takes, the commitment, get a better understanding of what's going on. So with that, I was truly, yes, I was on board with him moving forward. I was extremely reluctant because I'm concerned that he quickly pulled out what I would call a race card against somebody he didn't know and based that disagreement on color. And as a member of the board, you should not worry about color, creed, religion, sexuality, anything. It should be, if you have a disagreement with somebody, it should be nothing more than a disagreement. Don't base it on anything else except for the fact of the matter of what's going on, not who they are or what they do.
And I agree with you, but we don't know their history either. I don't know. Have they had history together? I don't know. So,
Right.
and I didn't, and remember from a planning board point of view, we just saw somebody call someone a criminal on camera, and we just went, what? So it works both ways. It was unfortunate for both people.
Don't
So the
disagree,
the
but I
planning
just
board
wish
did
that it
agree
would have
on
been
the second
discussed
time.
here. That's it.
Yeah.
That's my only comment.
Fine.
It wasn't discussed.
Yeah, the message that we sent by doing a 4-0 vote without comment sent the wrong message that, yes, we did support the gentleman moving forward, but we also supported his language in attack towards a citizen, which I definitely do not.
And in the past, we made choices that we weren't not just gonna rubber stamp things, we were gonna ask questions and do it, and we did have a lot of conversations about conservation appointments at one time. And challenging the appointment, and is it the right fit for the community, are they gonna give us the right services? So as a board, we have moved past the rubber stamp, and we've gone and asked the tough questions.
I do hope this gentleman comes on board and does impressive things. I wish him well. It's definitely going to be a learning experience.
I do think another positive came out of this as far as process, right? So there really hasn't been a clear process in the past for how these individuals are not only processed through the appointment, but onboarded. And that's really important.
Yes.
And so what planning didn't know is that the individuals are coming to me.
Luckily, you have two chairs of two of the boards right now.
I talk to the staff member that's generally assigned to you. So like for conservation, I would speak to Joan. And planning, I spoke to Joan. Any concerns about this individual, we're sending them an application, a longer application than just your name and phone number and all that. We're asking for that feedback, which includes references. We're getting that information. If there's any question, as there was with this applicant, on a past interaction with the town, I am consulting legal counsel. And going with legal counsel. But what the planning board didn't know, my bad, I assumed they did know that we were doing this process, is that we had done that. So the question got to the planning board and they were like, oh, has this all been vetted? Like, what's going on? And unfortunately, I was home that evening, couldn't get here. So it kind of went in a way. But that is the process. We're doing a thorough vetting before they even get to the board for the interview. When they get to the board for the interview is between the board and commission and the applicant. If there's someone that has objections, they should really email the chair or the board before the interview. And because when you get into a three-way conversation like occurred that night, that it can go places that it shouldn't go.
My appointment, there was probably a six-way conversation. I think Steve was here that night. The room was full.
Yep.
So I feel his pain.
Yeah, and then, when in doubt, go into non-public. Make one motion. Go into non-public, clear the room, leave the individuals that you need to discuss with. So I think we're all learning, and like I said, I had a long conversation with the chair and several members after, and I think we've got it in a good place going forward. Maybe we should have mentioned that at the last selectmen meeting.
Yeah, I would say I never knew there was a vetting process as well. I learned this afterwards. Now that we know, it's great to know, because I always question, you fill out the form, do you want to be on the board? Yes, okay, come on. Take over Steve's spot.
And the sign in the back of the room now is there, which means if we're interviewing somebody, nobody gets up and jumps into the interview why it's going on, which is what happened.
Well,
That's why these two signs are there now.
he asked if he could speak, and he said yes.
But that
Yes,
should
he
not
did
happen.
ask.
Okay, but that, again, I'm glad it's there because it should be there. No more intervening that way. Were we in non-public or public? I forget. Did it close?
You were in public session.
That's not good. Yep.
You did well.
So where are we now? He's approved. He starts
already been approved.
next time.
And we learned.
I think he was waiting to get sworn
Let's
in.
hope he
He,
does a great job.
he is waiting to get
Learning
sworn
curve is
in.
long.
His appointment's in the consent folder.
Takes a year to feel
And like I
comfortable.
said, the other big part of this that probably has needed some work in the past is onboarding.
Yep.
So I've personally taken that on, working with whatever staff member is assigned to your board. I have supplied him handbooks and webinars and all types of information which he should review before his first meeting. We'd like to look at how we get these individuals into a volunteer or appointed officials workshop with like the NHMA. I sent that out to all the chairs of the commissions. There's
And
one
with the election
coming
cycle right
out.
now, within the next couple months, there
That's right.
should be the 91A right to know NHA puts on. And I think anyone who gets elected or is appointed should definitely do it. You'll learn a lot from that 91A
Right.
course that you never, ever thought you would have
Yeah,
known.
I would
And
agree with
it's-
that.
It's a
Let's
fantastic
use
course.
this as a pilot to understand what needs to be done, because I know on the boards I've been on, and these guys can attest, we've never received any of this documentation. And it would be good, even now, with the members that are current, to provide it to them, let them read it, let them understand what the 91A is, the do's and the don'ts.
And they do it in person and a webinar, I believe, so it'd be great to have it out
So
there.
this one coming up is an in-person and a webinar, and if they have any members that would like to attend, even current sitting members, it doesn't have to be a new member. If you send us their names, we will register them with their Litchfield NH web, email, and they will get the direct link. They will get, materials after, I think Selectman Leary did it one time.
What?
The NHMA officials webinar series they held on a Saturday. This one's, I think,
We
on
had to do it.
Wednesday.
Yeah, when I was elected, I went out to Keene or something on Saturday. Very cold gymnasium for the day, and learned a whole lot. And it was well worth going to it. I think everybody who sits on a board commission should take it.
And with something like planning, zoning, conservation, any land use, there's a ton of material. There is just a lot of material to review. You can't just sit on one of those boards and really do a good job. So making sure that they have the links to all that information and it's all available to them, that's part of our responsibility.
We never had it.
I used to, when I joined the planning board, we had to take the 91.3. Did you take it then? Did you take it at a different time?
I took it when I became a selectman. It was
Yeah.
pushed to me that it was a most critical thing to go do, so I signed up, and as I said, I went out to Keene and sat in a very cold gymnasium
I
for
think
the
you need
day.
to go every 2 or 3 years.
Then too, right?
Does
I was
laws
planning board
change?
then also, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did planning board, then I did conservation, and then 4 years in rec.
Well, you can send it my way too, because I haven't taken the training.
Oh, I will. I'll send it to the full board, what I
Yeah.
sent to the commission chairs.
Thank you, Kim.
I think there's no doubt that that was an ugly night. Any of us that have watched the videos knows that it was an ugly night. It was not a good night. Anyone that knows Mr. Charbonneau knows that the accusations made against him were absolutely ridiculous. You look at his company, him and his brother run, the people they have working for them. Every demographic is there that I can think of. So it was very unfortunate. It was a very unfortunate, characterization, I'll use that word. I think we've learned from it. I think going forward, we'll know better. I think
I would agree.
if we make the process better, then, something good can come out of it. And Kim has already stated some good has already come from it, so. Thank you for bringing that forward.
Next. Trying to help you.
You trying to help? You're great help, Kev.
I hope I have it.
Is there any other members of the public who want to come up? Peter, you want to come up as a public guy? All right, so, up next. Oh, we will close public input at 7:21. That is also something that Mr. Weber has always helped me with, always telling me when to close the meeting. Do this,
I'll just send you a text from now on.
Yep, thank you. I always refer to him as a mini computer because guy pulls more stuff out of his head. But, so anyways, up next, we did the Litchfield Board and Commissions reappointments. The following have terms expiring March 31st, 2024, and respectfully request reappointment. Energy Committee, Sam Terrell,
I think that should be Fred French.
Sorry, yes.
French, and Eric Olson for a term to expire March 31st, 2025. Conservation Commission, Fred French of Litchfield for a term to expire March 31st, 2027. Rec Commission, Jeff Town, Andrew Ruggles, and Chris Burns for a term to expire March 31st, 2027. And we also have 2 Planning Board resignations, Kate Stevens and Sam Terrell.
No, that's not Sam. It was Jared O'Connell.
No,
Sam.
Sam?
Sam.
He's going to stay on energy.
Oh, okay.
He's gonna
I thought
stay
it was
on
Jared.
and resign from the Planning Board, okay. So, do we do them one at a time or do them all?
However you'd like.
You're the boss.
Let's do the reappointments first, and then we'll do the resignations, because they're different. So we'll take a motion to recommend the appointments to the Energy Commission, Conservation Commission, Rec Commission for the terms designated.
So moved.
So we have a motion, Mr. Gannon, second from Mr. Lynch. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 500. Now in motion to accept the 2 resignations.
Do we have to?
I think Kate should stay on.
We say no? I'll make a motion to accept the resignations of Kate Stevens and Sam Terrell from the Planning Board.
We have a motion from Mr. Gannon.
I'll second,
We have a s-
unfortunately.
We have a second from
They were both great.
Ms. Queenan.
They'll be missed.
Yeah. All right. Any further discussion? All those
We're on this topic. Where do we stand with our boards? I think
I'm full with the Conservation Commission is full with full-time members, and we have 2 alternates.
about
And I think from Recreation, with these appointments, you're full but need alternates.
So that'll be you.
I put in, I haven't heard from the town.
We're gonna vet
Next
you
week.
first.
What do you,
I'm sorry. You put in.
For Recreation on Thursday.
Yes, you did.
So then,
Okay, I didn't-
planning, what does this do to planning board? Puts them down, right?
We're down 2 at this point.
Because you didn't
So
have any
we're
We're down
alternates?
to
We're
I
down
think
2
Ms.
and
Stevens
no
has been there, what,
alternates.
6 years?
Yeah.
She's been there a
Zoning
long
board.
time.
She hasn't
So
been there.
we've
Has she
got-
been there? I've been there
Notice
6
for-
or 7.
yeah, you've been there longer
I
than
don't think
that.
she's been there 6, has she?
She joined, I think, when I got appointed for the Selectmen. I think it's 6 years she's
Wow.
been there.
So then planning, budget, and ZBA are hurting.
Budget Committee has 1 person up for reelection, and there's, as I understand, a writing
Right
candidate.
now, yeah.
Mr. Peoples?
Yes.
Yep.
But Ms. Stevens has done an absolutely great job on the planning board.
Yep.
And it's sad to see her go, because she was good on that board.
Yeah, very logical.
And I
So-
thank her for all her efforts. I mean, it was a lot of time she put in.
So any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 500. Mr. Weber, if you would like to get the paperwork with Kim and see us at our next meeting?
I gotta pass rec first.
Yeah.
And yes, Mr. Ames,
That's tomorrow night.
You're gonna grill them first.
you're gonna grill him first, yeah. I would go
Yeah.
into
the background check.
Background check.
I would go into the background check, yeah,
Don't
yeah.
allow public input.
Yeah, well, yeah, you might want to do it behind closed
We need
doors.
public to show up.
Public input could change it.
I will say that his wife is a very nice lady.
You're just afraid of her.
I am. There's not a smart man on earth that's not afraid of her, including you.
Touch that line, Bobby.
All right, up next, we have approval and adoption of impact fee studies. Ms. Klein.
So there were a few questions from the February 12th, and we did discuss, Chair Proto from the planning board, reached out to me today because last meeting we actually discussed whether we wanted to get together with legal counsel. After talking to legal counsel, I think these answers to these questions may satisfy the board. Legal counsel wasn't immediately available, and the recommendation is to pass the impact fees. So the questions were, what happens if the, GMS article does not pass?
Still goes to the thing.
Irrelevant.
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
So we collect the funds. If in 6 years the project has not begun, like any other project, the money would be returned.
Yep.
Can they collect impact fees just for GMS? Yes, for the portion of the school which accommodates new growth, which NRPC did correctly in their,
Yep, and I remember giving impact fees when they got the portables, because that was new growth.
That's
believe so,
correct.
yes.
that would make
The
sense.
impact fees that they had, yep.
That would make sense. And what account does Ms. White put the school impact fees in? Legal counsel said the funds can be put in the current elementary account, but did deflect to our auditors should they have any questions. Elementary, looking at today, has about 16,464 in it.
That was Mrs. White.
I think was some question as to middle school and high school, which both currently have funds. Those would remain in there. They could be used for any project that comes forward, which is for new growth.
Or maintenance,
Or maintenance as far
or
as
something
the
that was
school. Yep.
for growth, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we
Remember that
gave,
being different.
we gave LMS money for windows, and we gave Campbell money for, it was supposed to be lights,
But it was a booster pump.
and then they used it for a booster pump because they
Yeah.
found the money elsewhere. So, yeah, so it has been used for that type of thing.
So the 12 in middle and the 26,000 in high school would stay there
Yep.
for, until the 6 years.
And how much is in GMS right now?
16,464.
Which I
Some
believe
of that
starts
might
going
go back,
this year. Yep.
I
Yeah,
can
it might
say
go back
with my
this year.
experience, I've dealt with
At the end of the year.
impact fees for a long time.
Mhm.
Prior to coming here and doing my thing, this is not uncommon what I'm seeing here.
Mhm.
Legal has always done it this way.
Yeah, and legal, she did look over,
Your wife said,
legal
"Hey."
counsel had both the impact fee study and the larger document. So, at this point, we think all the questions of both legal and the board have been answered.
Are you all set? Because you were afraid. So the SIP plan said it was collecting for GMS unless the project was bundled for $50,000 for the other projects. The money's being collected for GMS,
And put into GMS.
and to put into GMS. And
Correct.
you were wondering, you had split the money up in the past, because the SIP plan kind of laid flat for a while, right?
Well,
After
no,
Campbell was
the
built.
the concern I had was that the school wanted to put it all in one pot. And you can't do that. It's gotta be individual schools have their
Correct.
own individual pots.
Okay.
And
That's
these
the way the
questions that
impact
these
fee is
answers that came back
calculated.
Yep, yep, absolutely,
Calculating
yep. So,
GMS.
yep.
And if they had a bundled project, other stuff on the SIP.
If there was something there, you had to
100%.
calculate to that number, to that project.
So I'll make a motion to approve and adopt the impact fee study as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Mr. Weber and a second from Mr. Lynch.
I've
Any
been through this
discussion?
100 times.
The only thing I would like to say is that it was made, mentioned by a member, now former member of the planning board, that the selectmen was sitting on this. We just got this at the meeting on the 12th. Okay, you guys worked, what, a year on it? Or so, maybe longer?
Like from April.
Yeah.
Right to the
And
end.
we just got it on
Yep.
the meeting on the 12th, so we weren't sitting on it.
Nope.
So I want that known out there, that, I mean, we got it, we had questions, questions were answered, Kim got the questions answered from legal, and now it's come back to us and our questions have been answered, so I think we're ready to
And it's been
approve
approved
this.
within 30 days as of this
Yeah.
evening.
Yeah, so I think we're good, so.
We're good.
It starts right now, or, so if GMS passes?
One way or the
all
other.
of the
It doesn't
development?
matter if it
Doesn't
passes.
No, it's gonna be collected from the
Yeah,
new,
they're collected.
but it's gonna go to the fund
Yes.
for the elementary.
Yep.
All the impact fees are calculated at the time of the building permit. We in turn get it collected by the time we issue the
So anything
certificate of
pulled after this
occupancy, and that makes everybody happy.
Planning board
Oh,
approval.
it doesn't.
Planning board approval, yes, it'll be one more meeting.
Planning
Yep.
board.
Well, so the phases that we already have going right now are on the old impact fee?
Correct, yes.
Right.
There'll be anything new pulled after
Yes, yes.
adoption.
Going to the planning board, yes.
They're already in front of us.
So the two
I've
big
been
projects are
through this
going
so
are
many
under the old one?
Yes.
So many legal people.
Okay.
impact
Very good.
fees. Oh,
Any more discussion?
No.
All right, all those in favor of adopting the new fees, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 500. And thank you, Kim, to your group with planning and NRPC and everyone involved with this. I know it's been on a lot of people's minds getting them updated, so great work.
No?
All the department heads.
Department heads, too.
Department heads, the school, they all did a great job.
Hi, guys.
Good night, Jay. Good night, Peter.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Good night, folks.
Oh, Jay's staying.
Oh, Jason.
Good night, Peter.
Oh, he took a backseat.
So, up next, we have,
The lease agreement.
Say something.
Abatement.
we have the farm lease,
No, abatement.
oh, the abatement denial, map 18, lot 66. Open Doors, 359 Charles Bancroft Highway. What is that?
Yeah, so the Department of Revenue, I guess, is coming down hard on exemptions for,
Oh, there it
anybody
is.
that claims them, churches, hospitals. So, the auditors, the Avatar had reached out to me, and I had to get in touch with all of the churches in town, and, because they have to file an A9 form every year by
Yep.
April 15th. And they're supposed to put on that, what uses of their land and their buildings are used for and able to claim this exemption. And so the Open Doors has wetlands they had said that they can't use for anything. So the Avatar had conditioned it down because to them it shouldn't be exempt. But the church believes that it should be.
So what you're saying, the wetlands can be used?
No, wetlands can't not be used.
That's what the church is saying.
No, that's what Avatar, well, so the church said they have wetlands they can't use.
They
yes.
do,
And so
correct.
Avatar says, well, now that has to be taxed.
Your tax wetlands?
Well, it's conditioned down. It's not as if it was.
Seasoned down to what it's not what it would be if it's in other words, it was known to be a buildable area.
Or
Now
yeah,
it's
dry,
not.
or usable.
Okay,
and
it's not
whatnot.
usable.
Well, you can't build on anything, no matter what.
That's a little confusing.
No.
The church is saying they can't
So-
use it,
so-
Avatar is saying they can? Because I recommend
No,
a denial.
Reduced rate.
Well, they can't be exempt.
Right. So
They have to
denied
pay
the-
taxes.
You have to pay a
on-
minimum.
because- So the letter is, the taxpayers have filed for abatement on this 9.3 acre property improved with the church building assessed at $796,600. They are questioning why the town is imposing a property tax on their church. They state that they're a nonprofit religious organization and go on to cite RSA 7223-3 that states, "House of public worship, parish houses, church parsonages occupied by their pastors, convents, monasteries, buildings, and the lands pertaining to them owned, used and occupied directly for religious training and for the religious purposes by any regular, recognized, and
Building itself.
constitute, what was that?
Constituents?
Nomination, creed or sect, organized, incorporated, or legally doing business in this state, and the personal property used by them for the purpose for which they are established." First, there is no tax being imposed upon the church, as the church building receives a religious tax exemption pursuant to the statute noted above. That said, the taxpayers were notified that not all of their 9.3 acres of land was in use and occupied for religious purposes, and as such, that portion of the property that is not in use and occupied for religious purposes is in fact taxable, and they were properly assessed and subsequently taxed as such.
Okay.
They were notified in writing regarding this fact, and they called and questioned the same on several occasions. They did note that the portion of the land was wet, and as such, the assessment was reduced to reflect this fact. The taxable portion of this land is based on an assessment of $7,966. That area, as indicated above, was properly assessed and subsequently taxed. The fact they may have received an exemption in the past in error on this area is not basis for continued error. As such, I must recommend this request for abatement be denied.
Okay, makes sense.
So it's wetland that you can't use for church purposes, so you get taxed on it.
Yes.
But you can't do anything
You
with
can't
it.
do anything on it, but
So
especially,
whatever
It was
the,
always my understanding that we didn't tax churches. We didn't tax religious properties.
Right, but
The church owns the property.
Used by
But
The church owns the
it's
property.
not being used for religious purposes.
Yeah.
can't use wetlands for religious purposes. Well, I guess you can. I don't know what you're gonna do.
Probably
The kind of downfall
Are they
is
just taxing the
it's
building?
under the
No, taxing the
10-acre
land.
minimum for
Current use.
current use. Otherwise, I'd say put it in current use
Double
for
take it off.
wetlands, but it's under the 10 acres, so they
Well,
kind of have
wetlands
a-
has another, but you'd still be paying on current use, and I believe their tax bill is $150.
But
So
what's
the
it doing?
monetary impact's not great.
which is nothing.
That's the whole year, is like 100.
For the whole property? For the 9.3 acres that they're talking about? I thought you mentioned 7,000 or something like that.
Well, it's $7,966, $20.94 per thousand.
That's what it comes out to, Bob, at the end.
I don't know.
So like 8,000 times.
Get it?
So what is their tax bill every year?
Yeah, just like ours, you get it, twice. So what did I say, 7,966 about times 20.94?
The assessed value is 7,000.
166
So it's so much that, so
Per-
it's
per year or every 6 months?
$195 is
Per
the
year.
bill.
Per year.
$166?
Right
Okay.
Okay. They gotta pay something.
Separation of church and state.
Something new.
They use the same algorithm for all the churches, right? They're not picking this church out, right? There's
No.
many churches in
No,
town,
because
lots of places to worship.
there's another one that pays taxes. I believe that they have a tower
Yes.
on
that's
theirs, and
one-
they
one-
have,
one-
to
one
because
of
they're
two.
making money off of that, they have to
Correct.
pay taxes.
That I understand. It's making,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
making money.
The other way of
So
looking at
if
it.
you charge
too,
somebody to park in your parking lot or something, that's,
If they
not
took their
exempt
land and
because
then
you're
what they
charging
actually
people for
use for the church and divide that out and use it for, give it to the town for green space,
I think they have a driveway that passes through it.
they do, just one,
Oh,
okay? They have on the
Is
backside,
it an egress?
that's the street curb cut to it, okay? And that's high and dry. There is a trolley car track that goes through the back of it. And there've been some tenants out there, I'll just say that nicely.
Oh, squatters?
No, just tenants. Okay, and they're gone now. I don't have a problem with what they're doing.
So what is our action? We
At
leave
Tim's
this-
Turf, is that wet back there?
Yes.
Because the Presbyterian church is over there too, right?
There is a
any-
church,
Is there any
there is a
wetland
church
on
in the
that?
corner.
Is there wetland behind it?
I think it's a hill.
Oh.
Goes up the
But is
hill,
it-
right?
again, as
Right.
long as
Behind the
they're
church
doing the
next to
same
Tim's.
thing, right?
Next to who?
Charging the same
Tim.
way.
It's great.
Yes,
sir.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's all uphill
yeah,
there.
it's all uphill,
They
yeah.
don't have any wetland.
No wetland up in that area.
difficult, but it is the law.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gonna be just as difficult on the next one, but it's the same law.
And it's only $166.
You're right.
Only $166.
yeah.
I can get that in the next collection.
I'll make a motion, we deny the abatement of map 18, lot 66, open doors at 359 Charles Bancroft Highway.
I will second
We
it.
have a motion from Mr. Weber and a second from Mr. Gannon. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries 410. I don't think churches should be taxed. Sticking with it. And I'm not a very religious guy, but I don't think they should be taxed. Separation of church and state.
I think it's a little odd that they're being taxed on use they can't
On land they can't
can't
use,
use.
yes.
It's,
That's the part that I have
So
problem.
my suggestion to the church would be to have 2 or 3 meetings out there a year, pray to the water gods.
build a bridge.
There you go.
Yep.
Just crossing the line once or twice.
All right, up next, we have recommended approval of the lease with McQuestion Farms for the lease on the property at map 15, lot 22. This is one we've been doing for years. Out in front of the old George Colby Jr. house
Okay,
Yep.
we're gonna take,
by the landing.
Oh, by the
take
way,
this in two parts.
Two parts.
Okay.
Bobby, just in there, the
Hold on.
Dr. Sparks has passed away.
Yep, oh yeah, we'll mention
Well,
that.
actually, no, he used to live there.
So, New Hampshire RSA 7223. This is town land, and as town land, it's exempt from taxes.
Mhm.
When you enter into a lease situation, it becomes taxable to the leasee. So, because this is more than 10 acres, the town can put it into current use. So, 12.06 of this, in total, I think it's 13.62 acres.
Okay,
12.06 of this will be put into farmland, and 1.56 as all other. This has been reviewed by the assessor, and she has recommended that we put it into current use. As such, once you approve it to go into current use, the leasee of the land will be charged the taxes at the current use rate,
which
since
is,
they will be farming it.
yeah,
Cheers.
Which is, so it'll be assessed at $323 an acre, in value times 20.94. It comes out to roughly about $82.
So if we chose,
Okay.
we could reduce the part, we lease it to them by $82 and everything's.
Well, you can certainly overrule what I did.
I didn't see
The
what you did.
lease was
yep. They used to pay
$1,000.
$1,000 a year.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just knocked it to 900 in case we're
Perfect.
off a little bit, and so they will pay the 900 in the lease and the taxes on the current use once it gets all processed.
I
So what's,
guarantee-
the total will be
So there's two motions.
982?
982.
Will that be the total?
Roughly, yeah, I mean,
So they'll save $18.
And they're good stewards of that land, and they keep it turned for us and maintained. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely.
right, so, but we do need two motions. We need a motion for the approval to put the land into current use. And then
Okay.
we need a motion to approve the lease, and we'll make sure that both happen so that in the correct order. And then, we would like permission from the board tonight to allow, the land to be used in case they need to get it ready for crop sooner than this paperwork is processed.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be plowing yet, but it'll be coming soon.
This
That's
has been the
okay.
worst year I've seen with snow.
So, all right, so the first,
I'll make a motion that we approve the application for current use assessment for map 15, lot 22.
I'll second.
we have a motion from Mr. Weber and a second from Ms. Queenan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 500.
I'll make a motion to recommend the approval of the lease with McQuestion Farms for the lease on property at map 15, lot 22.
Motion from Mr. Weber,
I'll second.
second from Ms. Queenan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 500.
I'll make a motion that we allow McQuestion Farms to utilize the land on map 15, lot 22, prior to the signature and acceptance of the lease.
Motion from Mr. Weber,
I'll second.
second from Ms. Queenan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 500. Is that everything on that we need? Perfect.
is everything.
So they're good to go. Charlie, Christie, Matt, have at it. They've done a really good job with that land. They help us out a lot. Otherwise, that'd be bittersweet from the river to the road.
They're nice and cheap.
Jay would be mowing.
Jay would be out there mowing a lot more.
Even with the river access being in there, there's been no incidents.
There's no issues,
It's
no,
been
it's
very
so wide
quiet.
down there.
Yeah, it's been,
Plus what he puts down
Yep,
there,
it's in there
you
for
run
signature.
over, you're not gonna worry.
What do we take, about 2 acres for river
concerned.
access?
I think it might have been the 1.6
The 1 point, yeah, that was out of it, for other use,
recreation.
yeah,
Yeah.
for the access road parking lot.
So up next, we have town administrator and selectmen reports.
Short and sweet, right?
That's great.
Short and sweet. Schedule is set for the Pennachuck consolidation case. March 14th, we have a technical session. And as you know, the city of Nashua has intervened. We did, as a town, on our water bills, get hit with the initial, QPAC that was approved. So for 3 months, we are getting charged an additional 1.35, which is backdating, to September. Then I'm gonna skip the leadership, I believe I mentioned that last meeting. The final special events, group is meeting, with the residents, this week. We hopeful to have the legislation for the special events policy back to you on March 25th. That has gone well. All the changes that the residents have requested have been made. So they'll have one final meeting to review that. Department heads are working on fee schedule changes, for proposal in April. And I have been asked to sit on the NHMA legislative policy process. So I'll be working with the Finance and Revenue Committee for the NHMA, which covers budgeting, revenue, tax exemptions, current use, tax collection, a whole bunch. We develop a whole bunch of legislative policies that govern the advocacy that NHMA can do at the State House. So there's a bunch of town administrators and managers that are assigned to different committees, and we all meet on April 5th, so I'll be in Concord on that day, working on that. The next one, Selectman Gannon, is the local officials workshop on Wednesday, April 3rd. So if you'd like to sign up. Underneath that is a planning and zoning conference on May 11th. And you do not have to be on a planning or a zoning board to attend that. That is online as well. Anybody can do it, so if you're interested, just shoot me an email, we'll get you signed up. We had an update from Chief Nickel on the CERT team. Chief Nickel is working with Londonderry. As you know, the select board gave him approval to go over the budget, and Karen and I will find the money somewhere. They are going to bring in a 16-hour, 2-day, 8-hour class, certified class to certify our group. They're just asking for us to supply drinks and food, and certificates. So, thank you very much to the group in Londonderry.
And a little to add to that, the CERT team, when we attended last week, was 22 people.
22?
22.
Good start. Good start.
Good, you got a lot of traffic control, that's good.
That's great.
It's really good.
It's gonna blow his budget right to hell, but
All part of the game.
We'll figure out to get him some more
we'll
money
figure it
next
out.
year.
Yep.
The next one is kind of the two go hand in hand. So there was a question on the economic development survey, and one of the answers was, what do you want to diversify your tax base? And the Economic Development Committee said that, what exactly do we mean by that? So I kind of put together a one-pager, and you can access it and look at it. The in developing this and having some discussions with some department heads, the question came up as to would I be willing to kind of meet with residents and discuss this, and the library offered me a venue to do so, and we could tape it. So I wanted to ask the board's permission to do that, because I think there's been a lot of questions raised as to exactly how is the town assessed? What does the assessment mean? How are you taxed off of that?
Yep.
Kind of a small mini municipal finance class, so to speak. And I think it's important to those that are interested that we provide some education on it. I can, I'm more than willing, if Karen would like to help, if we wanted to get an assessor to come, but we'd kind of put together a little mini course and do it over at the library, if that's acceptable to you.
I think it's a great idea because we can look at it right now. It's 5.38% commercial, 90.41% residential, 4.23% utilities. You can give examples by tweaking just a few percentage in either direction. What does it do to the tax basis?
So example one, interestingly enough, which is on the back page, the commercial ad in that example is very similar to adding a small tubes. So I looked at the assessment on small tubes. If you added small tubes, another facility like that, your rate is going from 20.94 to 20.75 or something.
That's only a half a percentage.
Yeah. That's only adding, basically about $5 million to your commercial base. So it goes to 2079.
Mhm.
So, and we can certainly run any scenario that we're looking for, but it's very small
tax-based.
amounts. And it sounds like a lot to say, oh, you're adding 4 million to your commercial tax base, until you find something that has an assessment like that, and then it puts it into
Yeah.
perspective.
And it's only pennies on the dollar, really.
It is. It is, but
Steve?
2079, you're talking on a $400,000 house, $100 on your tax bill, right?
Yeah.
So, getting, I think, people to understand exactly how we are assessed, what that assessment means, what the town is made up of, right? So we're roughly 9,000 acres. About 2,100 of that is in current use. About 1,900 of it is exempt. So either in that exempt is made up of a mixture of things, a little over 600 acres of that is state land, state exempt.
We tax
Some
the
of
state?
it- No. And so, I mean, people don't know until you dig into that. Those are fun facts to have, right? But 4,000 of those 9,000 acres right there are taxed differently.
Yeah.
Just one.
So we'll put something together and, maybe after elections have happened and we can have a nice little educational system.
I think it'd be great,
That'd be a good idea.
especially as the committee goes forward too, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
right, and I didn't get this done until this week. It took a little bit of time. So unfortunately, it wasn't ready before the survey. But the survey's out, about 50-something responses so far, and there's 4 individuals that are will be at the elections manning a table tomorrow. So that is great. And then the last one that I didn't have on the portal, but I wanted to mention it, and because my memory is horrible, I brought the brochure. I know that the selectmen already know about it. And that is the chief swearing in ceremony, which will be held at the Litchfield Fire Department.
Yep.
We will swear in Chief Jones officially as police chief, and that is March 23rd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Or 12 p.m., sorry.
March 23rd, 12 p.m.
March 23rd. Yeah, it's a Saturday. And we look forward to that.
12 p.m. Right, 12 p.m.?
12 p.m.
Perfect.
And that's all.
That's all you got? Great. I think I already filled out that survey. I did. You should be proud of me. I did it online.
Ooh.
But did you use the QR code?
What?
Exactly.
No, I think, no, John
Online.
Brunel sent it to me and I took
Okay.
it, so.
You clicked the link.
I clicked whatever he sent me.
For the Energy Committee.
He tried to dummy it down as much as he could. And obviously he did.
And just to let you know, there is no need for a
Different.
public,
Yep.
non-public session tonight,
Like that.
even though it's there, just in case, there's no need.
Just Bourbon Monday. Did I say
You
that?
have a very early morning tomorrow, I realize that.
Don't forget that. Don't forget that one.
Sorry. Up next,
Hey.
we have selectmen
I know.
reports. Up first, Recreation Commission, Mr. Weber.
I missed last meeting due to February vacation, but however, the agenda was extremely light, only a couple of field request approvals. Next meeting is tomorrow evening.
Perfect.
That's it.
Right, school facilities, conservation, and emergency management, Mr. Lynch.
School committees, we stopped meeting. I could not make it the last one because I got at 3:00 in the afternoon. I can't make that. As for the conservation, we had a good meeting. The chairman's here and everything went well. Wasn't much said. It was just one of those quiet nights about taking care of fish and stuff like that.
Kevin, you forgot fishing derby in May.
Okay, there's a fishing derby in May, but we use the river most of the time.
I'm very glad that you guys brought that back. I used to do that when I was a kid. I used to do it at Redfield's Pond. It's a little pond
Redfield
right-
Pond, or Redfield Brook, and there was water in it. Now it's all dirt.
Well, that's because he dropped the dam.
No, because it's silted up. We gotta drag it out again.
So, but,
I saw that the other
Very
day.
nice to have it back in. It's taken off. It's doing well. So
We
kudos
used
to
to
you
swim there
guys.
for our
Where's it
first
gonna
day classes too.
Going to
for
Brickyard this
swimming.
year?
Yep, Brickyard, same place, we're
Yep.
gonna extend it a little bit.
Yep.
We purchased 400 fish or something like
I think it's
that.
400.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Nice.
I want to go on record, the Redfields, they used to hold our first swimming classes there. You went there, but you had to have the special stuff to get the suckers off your skin, if I recall.
Yeah.
Are we still going?
You're gonna
We're
talk to
doing
Mr.
reports?
Brennan, who's gonna be in the
Doing reports,
microphone.
yeah. We just get sidetracked a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So, for the fill-in for Mr. Lynch,
Oh, referring,
while I got you here, so fishing derby
Yep.
in May. We're also bringing back the idea that we discussed with you guys a couple of years ago about potentially putting a bridge over Parker Park. So we've got a little working committee dealing with that. When we
it's
get to,
funding for that.
yep, when we get to a critical mass, we'll bring it forward here to see if it floats. And then the community garden, Mr. Lynch, is accepting applications, and knock on wood, that'll get.
And there's a meeting Wednesday evening, right, at the community center?
Meeting Wednesday evening, yeah.
I apologize
Community
for not
garden,
being
so,
so good about this.
Karen, you can plant your eggplants or whatever else you do over there.
Come and support Ms. Plansky in the community garden.
Yep.
Sorry.
Perfect, yep.
Sorry, Mr. Lynch.
Thank you.
I'm glad you took over, because I'm glad you're here, because That was a boring meeting.
Mr. Bernie, great update. It's a great update, thank you.
I'm glad you're here for me.
Oh, we have this one still.
All right, so up next, we have Heritage Commission with Mr. Gannon.
Next Heritage meeting is not until later this month on the 21st.
Okay,
They changed the date and times.
okay, perfect. And, as I like to say, everything else.
Anything else? All right, planning board.
Planning board, SIP.
All right, we meet next on March 19th, 7 PM here.
Okay,
Last time, by surprise, we weren't expecting it, but the master plan chapter on housing and population, I believed, was done by Jay Mancara, which is good because it's going to align with the Economic Development Committee. So I think that chapter might have been 5 or 6 years old, so it's okay that it was updated. They put in the latest census information into that. Let's see, SIP will meet after the town vote. Energy Commission, we focused on LED lighting, I believe, for the most part. At the beginning, we had reports from all of the department heads in the buildings, right? Different groups. So the conversation went that way mostly. Later we'll shift to looking at the town buildings. Which ones are costing the most money to heat and maintain will probably be the way they go next. But for now, it's focused on LED lighting. We're looking at the lighting in the room here, like under the vents, there's lights that are maybe missing here, under the, so we don't know if they're emergency lights or not, but
They don't work.
they're evaluating
Yep.
what these lights are going, what's going on. Then there's some out in the hallway. All right, economic development, the survey is out, please take it. Let's see, it's at the, also at the voting booth. Did you mention that when you were speaking? I'm sorry, I was signing. All right, we meet March 27th, 6:30 here at the town hall. NRPC, I did push for this. They've actually listened. It's a good thing to be on the executive committee. We need a list of grants. They're available. They have posted it on their website. They're supposed to get it out into their monthly newsletter. It's not quite there. They have pieces of it there. But now we should be able to go and look and find out what grants are available to start applying for them without having to dig. We next meet in September of 2024, the full commission, because we met our quarterly meeting in February. Executive Commission, we need to get the 501c better usage. We are looking for nonprofit money to come in that way. And that's all I have. Don't forget to vote tomorrow. That's the big one.
Yep. Budget Committee, we meet after the election. We have 2 spots open. We only have Mr. Taylor seeking re-election. And I think there's only one person doing a write-in campaign, Mr. Ray Peoples, so, once we get through that and get our new members, then, we'll meet and we'll have something to report to you. Okay. That being said, we don't have anything else on tonight's agenda. There's no non-public session?
Who's gonna be first thing in the morning there?
Oh, yeah. Who's available tomorrow? What time?
I can be there from 7 to 4 tomorrow.
7 to 4? Okay.
Good.
I'm about 11:30. I'm at worst case noon on, because I have to work in the morning.
Okay.
I got an appointment in the morning, then I'll be there.
What time?
And I can stay till
What time?
midnight.
And my appointment's at 9.
The appointment's at 9, so you'll be there by 11, 12?
Oh, I'll be way before that.
Really? It
Oh,
takes a
yeah.
couple hours to do a lobotomy.
All good things take time.
It's already port.
They're just gonna open them up and find nothing. Yeah, they're just closing back up.
This is what I grew up with.
Maybe like the hotel
I'm
book
available all day.
all day? Okay.
I'll be available after that.
Okay, good. Then I can be available all day. I'll go inside for part of the day and I'll be outside holding a sign for part of the day, so.
You going campaign?
It will campaign, yeah.
Just gotta make sure we have 3 of us there at all times.
It will,
Yep.
yeah.
So if us 3 are there earlier,
You mean?
then we'll have a lot of
you mean
coverage
Steve
from
and
noon
then
to 4.
Kevin will be around,
Stay
yep.
late, yep.
I'll be
Run
there.
out of surveys, call me. We'll get more to you.
Okay, we can
Oh,
do
the
that.
surveys, okay. How many did you send over? 200?
No, it's probably about 450.
But then there's a QR code, so people just zap the QR code.
A what?
Exactly.
You know, there's a lot of people like me.
We'll teach you that tomorrow.
There's a lot of people like me, Steve, you know that, right?
I still like a menu. When I go to a restaurant,
Yep.
I want to look
Oh, I am
at
too,
the
I'm the same
menu.
way.
I have a question.
Oh, is it that little black box thing?
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
I do that at Day of the Dead. Actually, Deb showed me how to do
See,
that.
you had to equate it to a restaurant. That's all.
I do know, you hold the camera on it, and then,
Yeah, I don't want to do
And he
that.
only does that
I
for
don't
the
like
beer
that
slug.
I don't
I don't like
Too
that
small.
I know, I haven't found
Plus,
Litchfield
you're
yet,
not
I'm
supposed
looking.
to have your phone at the table,
Anyway, right.
right? Isn't that
more
what
like
we teach our
this.
kids?
Yeah.
Very good. That being said, there's no further tonight. And again, I would like to thank Mr. Weber for his 6 years of service to the town. And as I said before, he was like a mentor to me, a big brother, little big brother.
Thank you, Steve.
He
Thank
eats
you for
you, he
everything.
drinks you.
So,
You're not coming the 25th?
I will be here. I end when they read tomorrow.
Yep.
But I can show up if you need me, just tell me.
Yep.
You can heckle from there.
I think Steve got tired of this part of the job and wants to go back to rec and have some fun.
It's an understatement.
Yes, exactly.
if we can get Mr. Ames off his duff to get the stuff to Kim and get it approved and vetted, I think we can make that happen on the
I'll get it to.
We can happen on the 25th. You can be right
Yes.
back here. And that would be nice, so.
You know, all good
That's
things
it.
take time, Steve.
All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I have a motion from Mr. Gannon and a second from Mr. Lynch. Any discussion?
Yes, I didn't have a chance to say thank you, and it's been a pleasure working
My
with you.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Wish
Thanks
you
for all
good
your
luck.
support and everything over the years.
Yeah, same.
Steve, I welcome you
You welcome me to what?
to the next life and adventure.
Yep, April will be glad
We'll
to
be
have you
cutting the
home on
budget,
Mondays.
don't worry.
And a lot of other nights.
Very nice, yeah.
I see-
Well,
when
if
I
you're on
see
rec, you'll
this,
still be
I
doing the
see,
rec thing, so.
Yeah, but that's
April.
rec.
My first year, I wouldn't have made it without.
It's been a pleasure working with you. You do a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm.
And something you didn't
I still have
mention,
yourself.
Yes, you do. Don't ever lose it.
something you didn't mention in your rec report is that you do have a comedy night coming
Hey,
up.
Bob,
We
did you
do. We
say
have
we're all
comedy
done?
night on Saturday, March 23rd for Litchfield Baseball Association, Litchfield Girls Softball.
Yep.
It's a great time every year.
we
We
have a
raise a
table.
lot of money, and we've been doing it since 2015, probably 2 a year. We
Yep.
took a hiatus for COVID, but we've been back at it starting last year.
Good.
So if you're nothing to do on Saturday, March 23rd, come on out.
Come on out and laugh a little. Need to laugh these days.
BYOB, BYOF, and a whole lot of fun with community, and
Yes.
it's a great night.
There's
If you
usually
haven't
some
been-
fun baskets.
There's a lot of fun raffles and a lot of good laughs to be had that evening.
Yes, so. All
I
right,
just
that-
want to go on record that that clock is wrong.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 500. We are out at 8:09 PM. Shortest meeting of the year.
I think so.
Oh,
Oh,
I
We
think-
have not had anything this short in a